Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Thirsty Thursday with Jonnita. And not only that, I have my favorite guest with me today. Yes. My husband, Hurtis. Give him a round of applause. Yes. Hey, you can check out Hurtis and follow him on social media at HDOKC. It's Love Month, y'all. This is the month of February, and it just would not be right if I did not bring my husband on. And today we want to just take a few moments to open up about our marriage and talk about something that I feel that so many other married couples possibly deal with, and that is unrealistic expectations, baby. Okay, so today it's the full battle of realistic expectations and unrealistic expectations. Those are the two sides. And this is the thing about unrealistic expectations. They can cause anger, frustration, and sadness. And then this unrealistic expectations, they never fully satisfy you because you're in a constant limbo looking for the next best thing. And so I would just want to go ahead and kick this off and chat it up with my hubby. And we're just going to be open and honest and just chat it up. But first, before we dive into unrealistic expectations, I have to ask him, since 2020 was a complete crazy year, how did you make it through 2020?
I made it through 2020 with Jesus. It was 2020 was challenging because I had to readapt to COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So at first we weren't able to go on dates how we normally would.
Yeah.
We do like 2 to 3 dates a week. So that kind of put a hamper on that. But then we recalibrated and got creative on ways to go back doing date nights and stuff.
Yeah.
Had to recalibrate business, interacting with different customers and stuff. Figuring that stuff out.
And that was kind of tough at the beginning of trying to figure out how do we stay open during COVID. I know that we had to close for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah.
And then, what else was going on? Oh, the kids, sports, school, all that. That was like definitely challenging and changing. Then it became, all the stuff that we saying it was challenging actually became a blessing because we got more creative, and then we started seeing things. I was like, okay, we can do this a better way.
A
better way to do what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, COVID been a blessing in disguise because it just opened up our eyes to do things in a more efficient and better way.
Yeah.
And that's with school, with everything.
Yeah.
And so our kids is excelling in school with it.
And then the bonding of family.
Yeah, the bonding of family.
Us just coming closer and everything like that. So, and some people probably don't know, if this is your first time ever watching Thirsty Thursday with Jonnita, my husband and I, we actually own a business together here in Oklahoma City, HD Paint and Collision. It's an auto body shop. And so that's what we're talking about, that we have to become more creative throughout COVID, and things became more efficient. I mean, just all of that stuff. So whenever you hear us talk about business, that's what we're talking about. So yeah. That's cool. Okay. So you made it through 2020 with Jesus, and then just knowing that COVID, yes, it was completely devastating to so many different families, and including ours. We lost several family members. So it was a blessing, and then also there's sadness with it and everything as well. And so as we move forward for today, for Thirsty Thursday, again, we're talking about unrealistic expectations versus, like real expectations. And so, Hurtis, what would be your definition of an unrealistic expectation?
I would say expecting something that's really not going to happen, and you're expecting something in your la-la land that you have in your own mind, that you grew up believing all your life.
Yeah.
That this is how life is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's not how life operates.
Yeah.
Life is changing, constantly change. So a lot of people have unrealistic expectations on a lot of things with church, God, their family members, relationships, and it causes a lot of people to lose faith and get sideways, get depressed, because you have a expectation that's not realistic.
That's not realistic, exactly. So
a lot of people like, Jesus is supposed to give me everything I ask when I pray for it. No, that's an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
But God's gonna do whatever His will is for your life.
Yeah.
And so whatever His will is for your life that's gonna better your life, that's what He's gonna do. But when you think God's supposed to just give you everything your heart desire, that's not gonna happen.
Correct.
And once it don't happen, you think God is failing you, but God is not failing you. You just have an unrealistic expectation of who God really is.
Yeah.
He's not a genie. He's your God.
Yeah.
He's gonna do what's best for your life. Just like if you have children in AI, they think eating candy and junk food all day long is the best thing they want. That's what they want. But us as parents know that's not best for your life.
Yeah.
So I'm not finna give you candy just because you want it and you asking for it. That's not the best thing for your life.
Yeah.
Because I know what we know as parents.
Correct.
What's gonna work out for you in the long run? What's gonna help you? That's gonna be bad for your health. You don't have no teeth. You have cavities all in your mouth. So it's the same thing with God.
Yeah.
He knows what's best for your life. So He's gonna give you whatever His will is.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be a blessing to your life, even though you don't see it right then and there. And so a lot of people get stuck and thinking, "Oh man, God ain't been there for me. I asked Him this and this.
Yeah.
I prayed, I fasted, I did this and this." You obviously wasn't listening to God while you was fasting and seeing in His Word that is not how He operates.
Right.
He operates for our best. So whatever's our best is, whatever our best for our life is, that's what He's gonna do for us.
Exactly.
Even if it's going through hard times. So hard times is a blessing. People don't realize that. Some people don't. If you never went through a hard time, you can't grow in your faith.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go through. You just be falling apart all the time. So when you go through a hard time and God guides you through that journey, you're able to withstand any other storms that comes your way.
Mm-hmm.
Storms be nothing to you. Hard storms that's real hard to other people will be nothing to you. It'd be like, it's a little rain and drizzle outside. Ain't nothing. It's like, this storm ain't for nothing.
You're like, why aren't you falling apart?
Yeah. So it's like you just be walking through a tornado.
Yeah.
But you already went through this other storm and God had built your faith, built your strength, and that tornado storm ain't phasing you because you already past that level. So, but if you don't ever allow God to guide you through that storm and you just fall apart and stop believing and asking God to help you through that storm, your faith don't be weak. Yeah. You have very little faith.
Yeah.
So
that's really good, because I feel that coming into our marriage, for you and I brought in a lot of unrealistic expectations. So I'm more the girl that watched all these movies. Come on, ladies, if you're on my side. I watched all these movies, and that's how I expected our marriage to be. And then not only that, growing up, I'm from Langston. He's from the city, from here in Oklahoma City. So growing up in Langston, I'm a country gal. My family and we moved a lot while I was growing up. And one of the things about that is that I came into our marriage, and I wouldn't say that I was completely stable. And so what happened when we purchased our first home, I was expecting that we would live in this home for like a year or 2 years and then move again. And so this created unrealistic expectation, because my husband is like, why are you looking for a home? We just bought a home. And I'm like, because we're supposed to move again. But this is a behavior that I brought into our marriage from something that I grew up doing with my family and I in Langston. But see, not having that stability, it also bled over into relationships and friendships, and constantly changing and constantly moving around. It makes you not stable as an individual. So that was like many years that Hurtis and I, we just really had to deal with these unrealistic expectations that I had brought into our marriage. And I would really say that it was a lot of me. I'm going to go ahead and point the blame during that area. Okay, now there's other areas, okay, but for this area in unrealistic expectations, I received the award. But hindsight, looking back now, I can see the growth. There has been a large amount of growth in just knowing that unrealistic expectations can damage a relationship. It can damage your marriage, because there's frustration, there's sadness when you're not getting your way, and eventually you can, as a believer, you can turn your back on God, because you're like, God, things are not working out, things are not turning out how it's supposed to be. One of the things that I remember that I struggled with when we first got married was after we purchased our first home, and 2 years later I was looking in a neighborhood and I was like, we're supposed to be living in a 10,000 square foot home. And it's like a neighborhood here in Oklahoma City. And I was like, this is the home. This is the home that was on the movie. And Hurtis was like, no. Can you see what he had to deal with? So anyways, this was an unrealistic expectation. And I'm so thankful that we took the steps that was necessary to overcome this particular area for our marriage. Yeah.
She was saying too how she grew up in a household that they constantly moved. I grew up in a household. Mama bought the house. We stayed there pretty much the rest of our life.
Yeah.
Rest of our childhood. And so when she was saying, "Oh, we gotta move again, this and this," I'm like, "We just moved in. What are you talking about? We ain't going nowhere."
I was like, we gotta get ready for the bigger one and not really enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what unrealistic expectations do. It snatches away the moment from you enjoying that moment that God has created you to be in for that time.
Yep.
You
miss out on that blessing moment that God has created for that time.
Yeah.
And so you'll always be constantly looking at the next thing, the next big thing.
Yes.
But if you relish in the moment that God is blessing you with, you have more peace in your life, even with that.
Yes.
So you're more grateful. It's just a whole lot doper to sit back, relish in the moment that you're in, and realize how blessed and amazing God has done things in your own life.
Yeah.
So.
And absolutely, because during that time of our marriage, early years of marriage, we got our first home. I was like 21. He was like, what, 20 something, 25. I didn't know if you want me to tell your age or not. But we were like, we were young. Like, I mean, we're still young, you know. But we were in our early 20s. And the thing is that me focusing on, okay, what's the next big thing? It kind of stole away some of those moments of, hold on, we're in our early 20s and we own a home. You know, it stole away a few of those moments of saying, wow, look at this progress. Look what we have done for our family, for our legacy. Look at the imprint that we get to make and help other young couples to say, yes, you can own a home, even when you're young.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, unrealistic expectations, it blinds you from the best things that God wants, because it's like a distraction. The enemy sends these distractions to keep you distracted from the best thing that God wants from you. And so it's talking about in unrealistic expectations, I guess our next part would be, how do you handle unfulfilled expectations? So when something is not, an expectation is not fulfilled, how do you go about having those conversations with your spouse to handle it, so that way there will not be conflict within the marriage? And even if there is conflict within the marriage, how do you overcome it so it just will not stay there? And so Hurtis and I, we have a few pointers that we just want to share, and so I'm going to do a little decoration here just so he can get a glimpse of this as well. And the first one is, that's very important, is you have to identify what the conflict is. You have to identify what the conflict is, so that way you can be able to set a foundation to say, okay, this is the situation. Now, where do we go from here? So if you and your spouse, if you do not see eye to eye on an issue, I know, so say for instance, like with the house, the 10,000 square foot house that I wanted to get during the earlier years of our marriage. And side note, real quick, I do not want that. I mean, that was like fairy tale back there, but now I wouldn't dare want a 10,000 square foot house unless they're going to give it to me. You know, then we say, okay, where's the keys? No, but let's say, for instance, about this house. If you and I were still arguing about it, we would sit down and say, okay, what is the conflict? Well, the conflict is that Jonnita wants a 10,000 square foot house, but Hurtis does not, because he sees this as something that is not beneficial or that is not helpful toward our family. So it's very important when you and your spouse are at odds over an expectation, something that one spouse wants and the other spouse does not. You have to identify what is the conflict.
Yeah, that's real. And don't attack the person, but deal with the issue. So you got to talk about the issue and not put the person as the issue. Set aside all personal feelings.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's take ourselves out of this situation and say, okay, this is the issue at hand. Let's talk about it. Let's walk this out. What can we come to a common ground? Why do you want this? Why do you want this?
Yeah.
And then come up with a common solution.
Yeah.
And don't and just realize y'all both on the same team. We just trying to come up with the best play for the team.
Yeah.
And so when you come up with the best play for the team wins.
Yeah.
But if we kind of do our own team,
yeah.
You got you the opponent, I'm the defense, and all that, it's not gonna work.
Right.
You'll have issues.
Yeah.
So you come up, y'all both use y'all wisdom and come up with a common solution to get to the common goal.
Yeah.
And so don't attack each other, because it's not. Don't take it personal. It's just a thing that you need to work out. It's not something personal that you need to be trying to attack somebody's character. Never do that.
Yeah. And then the other one is to listen. Hurtis is a phenomenal listener. I would say I definitely have become a better listener over the years, but you have to listen to where each other is coming from. Just like how I expressed to Hurtis about me moving a lot while growing up in Langston with my mother and my two brothers. He knows this and he listened to it. And then also I know about him having a little bit more stable situation, as in just growing up in one home. Well, I knew that as well. This is two different dynamics that we had to bring into a marriage and iron it out and understand that we don't come from the same backgrounds. Yeah. We come from two totally different backgrounds. So he has to be willing to listen to whenever I say, hey, I moved this amount of times and I'm not understanding, why can't we move whenever we just bought a new house? You know what I'm saying? during the first years of our marriage. And so, and vice versa, I have to be willing to listen to him when he is speaking. Not that he gets to, I shouldn't be a person who, while he is voicing his opinion as to what he is expecting, and then I storm off and I walk out the room and I'm slamming doors. That doesn't resolve anything. We have to be willing to listen.
The scripture too says, be quick to listen.
Yes.
Slow to speak. So listening is very key in marriage, just in general.
Yes.
So if you're not listening to each other, you're just wasting your time. Both of y'all will be frustrated because you could be saying something, and if you're not listening, you just waiting to come back with a rebuttal. Like, oh, okay, I'm finna get him with this.
Yeah.
That is not. This is not. That's not a healthy marriage. Like, you finna be frustrated. You're not winning. If you do win the conversation, you lost because both of y'all is on the same team.
Yeah.
And so, if one person is winning, the other person losing, y'all both lost.
Yeah.
So, best thing is both of y'all winning the conversation. So, you definitely got to listen. Say, okay, they saying this and this and this.
Yeah.
And another good way to let the person know that you're listening also is repeat back some of the things they're saying. You say, okay, this is how you feeling. Okay, this and this and this. Okay, I understand that. Or stuff like that. So that lets your wife know, your spouse know that you're paying attention and listening to what they're saying.
Yeah.
And it gives you some time to get it in your spirit, actually what they actually saying, and not just waiting to have a rebuttal on it.
Yeah.
And so it gets in your mind and your spirit to, okay, they saying this and this and this. So when I talk back to them, I need to repeat this so it's going into my system. I'm actually really listening.
Right.
And so you're able to talk it out better.
Yeah, and you have processed it instead of just coming up with a quick rebuttal.
Yeah.
And so it's like sometimes when we don't process it, then you can start an argument and then it just keeps leading into one thing after the other. But whenever I'm able to repeat it back to you, like, oh, okay, so I hurt your feelings in this way. I you know what I'm saying? So I'm listening, I'm repeating back to you and how it happened, what the conflict is, whatever. And then you could even be like, oh, okay, you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you understand where I'm coming from.
Yep.
So,
and you can apologize through that whole process too.
Yeah.
So, I hurt you in that way. I didn't know that. I apologize.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's how you can have great communication with each other.
Yeah.
And just have real good dialogue with each other and just talk things out.
Yeah.
And another one's on there that I think is being truthful, ain't it?
Yes, being truthful.
So expressing truth to each other. So a lot of people don't like telling people, hey man, telling their spouse the real. So me and my wife, me in general, if you know me personally, I'm gonna tell you the truth, regardless if it hurt your feelings or not. My wife has helped me say it in a more way people can digest things better when I tell people the truth. You
give them more grace.
Yeah,
like, let me give you some grace. Let me top this off with some kindness.
Yeah. So I'm just naturally on just tell you the truth. I have no filter. It's just like.
But he's better.
Yeah, I used to didn't have no filter. Now I'm a whole lot better. I filter it better so people can digest it, because some people just can't digest it as well. But always being truthful with each other. Say, hey man, this is I'm not feeling this. You need to say that to your wife, your spouse, and vice versa. Your spouse will need to tell you, hey, this is not what's up.
Yeah.
Like, we need to change this. This is not cool.
Yeah.
But if you don't ever be truthful with each other, that stuff start lingering on and causing conflict that you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you ain't been truthful about a situation. So it's just dragging on for years, months, and decades. People just be holding on to stuff because they ain't been truthful with their spouse. Like, talk that stuff out. Like, hey, I'm not feeling this. We need to change it. Well, wait, stop doing that. Don't do that no more. That irritates me.
Yeah.
You be upfront with each other, but say it in a loving way too.
Yeah.
That is key. So if you say it in a
like hostile,
harsh way, you finna
coming off like real aggressive.
Yes. Yeah. It's not gonna work. It's a scripture in the Bible say, harsh words, soft words turns away wrath. Yeah. So when you speak softly and kind and with patience and love, conflict is not going to be there. You can apply that to all things. That's why a lot of people some people be getting killed and stuff. You be like, oh, then the other person it's gonna be more fuel. They don't do the same thing. Then people pulling out guns, shooting all this stuff. That's what happens when you don't speak softly and kind. You just throwing fuel to the fire. Biblical principle. Apply it to all parts of your life.
I love your different type of scenarios because Hurtis and I, again, we have two totally different backgrounds. And so whenever he gives scenarios, it's like he's giving it according to how he grew up. So that's why it's like pull out guns and all this other stuff. It's like, I won't pull out a gun. Like, I won't even do that. But I know, like, our backgrounds, again, are two totally different backgrounds.
This is kind of subject, but it's what she's talking about background. I heard about some people parking. I grew up on the east side. And people parking in some college students parking in people's spaces in front of people's houses.
Yeah, blocking their driveways.
Blocking their driveways. And I was like, when I grew up in the 90s, you wouldn't even dare. Anybody parking somebody in front of their house, blocking their driveways, they can't get their trash dumped. The car is getting destroyed. Either car getting destroyed or people in my neighborhood is sitting on top of your car, waiting till you get out of class and say, is this your car? You won't do this again. You will be in the hospital.
That is so funny.
Because that's how it was. Like, but that was just that was a sidebar. It was just how I grew up. Yeah. And just it was just crazy that I just heard that people actually was parking somebody's front of their house.
Right. I mean, it's completely right.
Yeah, it's like that's a no.
Yeah.
You breaking all kind of man laws, hood laws. You don't do that. Where I come from.
And see, for me, I would write a note and put it on their windshield and say, hey, you need to move your car. And then the next day, then it goes to something else. But I wouldn't break their window. I doubt if I did that.
The car would have been stripped down.
Yeah.
Broken windows. The car would have been over with.
This is so funny.
And the person that drove the car, parked the car in front of the house, that'd have been over with. Like, you would think twice about even driving near the neighborhood after one parking in somebody's front of their house.
That is so crazy.
So,
oh my gosh,
I couldn't believe that it actually happened.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
It was just like unbelievable. It was like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
Just how I grew up.
Yeah. For me, I guess it's just, I don't know. Like, it's two totally different worlds. And I think that's what's so great, too, about our marriage is that you and I, we are night and day.
Yeah.
We are, like, seriously night and day. Hurtis is a introvert. I'm an extrovert. Feels like, though, as we're getting older, like, we're kind of taking on some similarities of, the introvert, extrovert, whatever. And how you grew up and everything. And I think it's important for people to see, just because you're opposites, and just because you're so different, it doesn't mean that you cannot make it work.
Yeah.
And so you just have to find a common ground and come together. And I think the beautiful thing about our marriage is, like a year into our marriage, I was actually trying to change Hurtis. I was like doing my best to say, no, this is how you need to be. This is how you need to go about living life, basically. And I heard this pastor say, like, do you want to destroy your marriage? Like, you cannot change people. Like, you have to accept them just as God created them. And I mean, just his words were just so strong. And I remembered from that day forward, I just let it go. Like, I need to learn to love you and all of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And vice versa. He already loves me for who I was. But I needed to learn to love all of him and not try to change his character, personality, him being an introvert, all of that. That's just who he is. And absolutely, I'm thankful that you did not change.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to change you too.
You did?
Yeah.